According to your report, the phone of John O'Keefe could be in the house, correct?
Based on the low accuracy information, yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
What is freezing in Fahrenheit?
Don't know.
The way Ian can explain extremely technical details is astounding.
Would you agree that 32 degrees Fahrenheit is the freezing point in Fahrenheit?
This is a good question. I honestly wouldn't know.
The kids think Ian's a doctor because he's so smart.
Uh-oh, it looks like Sir Ian Whiffin failed to properly convert Celsius to Fahrenheit.
So he's Dr. Whiffin, according to our household.
Okay, I didn't get a degree. I'm originally from the UK.
Health 1231-56, 36 steps, 25 meters, and yesterday we agreed 25 meters is approximately 84 feet, correct?
Correct.
We're continuing our analysis of John O'Keefe's cell phone based upon the newly acquired expert report written by Ian Whiffin, Sir Ian Whiffin, and always recall, he's from the UK. He doesn't have a degree, but he gave the court a detailed report for which we didn't get to see all the contents of. Let's watch.
At that time period, 1231-56, the device began moving for a period of 20 seconds.
Yes.
From the combination of device location and bearing, it does appear that the device started to move toward the house. However, since the bearing information appears based on the location records rather than the direction the device is facing, it is difficult to say with any degree of certainty if the device actually moved. It is certainly possible that the device was at that location and was moving toward the house.
Based on location data, yes.
The reason for such low accuracy location data at this time is not known, as there are many possible reasons why the accuracy be reduced. This could include reasons such as the device entered a building covered area, the result of weather conditions, geography, poor connectivity, or interference, to name a few.
The fact that Sir Ian Whiffin did indicate in his report that the low connectivity and low accuracy could be caused by John being in a covered surface, aka a house or garage, is very critical to those who believe that John O'Keefe entered the house and then was attacked by Brian Patrick Higgins.
Interesting, the very first reason you gave is that the device could be entering a building or covered area. And that phraseology could include a house, correct?
Correct.
It could include a garage attached to the house, correct?
Correct.
And it could include the house at 34 Fairview, and it could include the garage attached to the house at 34 Fairview, because both of those are buildings or covered areas, correct?
Correct.
To say it is known that the device was not being used at this time, and is this time
Yes, it was not being used for location purposes.
Right. So that's another reason why, right, the accuracy could be a little bit on the lower side.
Correct.
Now, the next paragraph says, at 12:38:13, when the device begins recording higher, and that's relative to what it was recording before. It's not that it's high, but it's higher than what it was just moments before.
Correct.
The data centers on a location slightly closer to the house than the roadside.
What did you write, Sir Ian?
Slightly closer to the house than the roadside.
I thought that's what you wrote, and that would prove obviously that the phone had moved from the SUV towards the house.
Although several records show the same center coordinate with differing accuracy radii, some of these location records are shown in the map below in white. So let's go down and look at what you had in your report for the area in white. In the area in white that you're referring to, there are two white circles, the largest one there. Interesting and notable, you did not include that depiction in your timeline that you discussed with the jury yesterday, did you?
I did not know.
Bad, Sir Ian, bad. No. Next time you put all the data in that timeline. You got it?
But it was important enough for you to put that depiction in your report, correct?
Correct.
And notably, the larger white circle covers a substantial amount of the house at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
Given your testimony on direct yesterday with Attorney Brennan, the phone of John O'Keefe, according to this depiction, could be anywhere within the largest white circle, correct?
Correct.
And this depiction was not offered by you or the Commonwealth in your presentation to the jury yesterday, correct?
Correct.
At 12:38:13, when the device begins recording higher accuracy information again, the data centers on a location slightly closer to the house than the roadside, although several records show the same center coordinate with differing accuracy radii. Some of these location records are shown on the map in white below. The next paragraph. Over the next few hours, the GPS coordinate and the associated accuracy radius jumps around numerous times between the house and the road. Did I read that correctly?
Correct.
And therefore, over the next few hours, according to your report, the phone of John O'Keefe could be in the house, correct?
Based on the low accuracy information, yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Notice how Sir Ian Whiffin, the master of testifying, failed to give a yes or no answer, and he gave an excuse as to why he's going to say yes.
According to your report, the phone of John O'Keefe could be in the house, correct?
Based on the low accuracy information, yes.
But of course, old Bob Alessi from one of the largest, evilest law firms in the world that represent the most evilest and largest corporations in the world is never going to let him off without getting that yes.
Based on the low accuracy information, yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
And based upon what you said yesterday, the phone could be at the very edge of the top of the circle, correct?
Correct.
And the phone could also be at any point, so you can, in theory, put a phone anywhere around the very edges of that entire circle, correct?
There's caveats to that, but yes.
Well, I'm just asking
Yes.
you a question. That, according to your testimony yesterday in this depiction, the phone could be anywhere in that location
Yes.
within the area of that white circle.
Correct.
3156, you see that, sir?
I do.
And then it says start of health event, 36 steps, 25 meters. And this is when the device begins moving, correct?
Correct.
12:32:03. Is the phone at that time in a pocket?
It's impossible for me to say. I can say that the camera was blocked, but I don't know what was blocking it.
You're saying at this point the camera is blocked?
It had been blocked, and at that point, it became unblocked.
So at this point it became unblocked from a previous block status, correct?
Yes.
Does there have to be some human manipulation of the phone at 12:32:03 for that to happen?
Technically not. There are scenarios that wouldn't require it.
Technically, that is true. Just like Karen Reed's SUV being blasted off into space or my ex-wife getting off, they technically can happen, although it's very rare. Here, Sir Ian's referring to the fact that perhaps John O'Keefe's phone was knocked out of his pocket, therefore clearing that pocket state. However, the next actions on the phone will clearly indicate it was done by John O'Keefe.
Is it more likely than not that there had to have been some human contact in action for this pocket state clearing event to occur?
Yes.
12:32:04 is the next. It's a type unlock. Device unlock with Face ID. You see that, sir?
I do.
Is there some human action that has to occur for the device to unlock with Face ID?
Typically, you must be paying attention to the phone.
Sorry, sir?
You must be paying attention to the phone, assuming that that setting's enabled.
So someone had to be looking at the phone.
Yes.
At 12:32:05, application focus. What does that mean?
That the messages application was at the foreground of the device being used.
Next entry, 12:32:06. It says read message, pull behind me. And that is associated with a Jen McCabe. It's the Jen McCabe message of 3147, correct?
Correct.
And does a human have to be reading that for that entry to be made?
The message needs to be on screen. If the conversation with Jen McCabe was already on screen when the device was unlocked, then that message would automatically be considered read.
Next entry, app lock 123209, end application focuses messages, and then it says device locked with lock button for the last time. That requires human interaction with the phone, correct?
Correct.
And it actually requires somebody to take the cell phone and press the side button to do that, correct?
It does, yes.
So there has to be some degree of coordination for that to occur, for a human to be able to have something that hits that button, correct?
Certainly, yes.
Do you understand what the term fine motor skill means? Do you
Yes.
understand that? And would that person have to be using fine motor skills to do that?
Yes.
And with that, Bob Alessa using this dope on the stand conclusively proves that Karen Reed could not have possibly struck John O'Keefe with her SUV because he still had the brain capacity to utilize his phone, open it up, shut it, and then lock it using his fingers, meaning he was alive when Karen Reed left 34 Fairview.
Next entry, 123216. End of health event, 36 steps, 25 meters, again 84 feet. That is in your timeline because that's when you believe the end of the health event, the end of the 36 steps occurred, correct?
That is the time that the device data shows the end of the health event, yes.
And again, can you give us the time of the connection between the defendant's phone and Mr. O'Keefe's router at Meadows Ave that night?
Yes, 12:36:39 a.m.
Here's 34 Fairview up here, and 1 Meadows Drive is down here. There are 2 potential paths to take. The shortest one is 2.3 miles, and according to Google, takes 6 minutes. You have to remember that it is at night, and the roads are slick because the snow had started to fall. According to the beautiful Intelligent Tuesday and the rest of her co-hosts, at 12:32 and 16 seconds, John O'Keefe's phone stops moving for the last time. That would indicate exactly when Karen Reed hit him with her SUV. If that beautiful Tuesday is correct, Karen Reed has to make it back to 1 Meadows Avenue by 12:36 and 39 seconds, giving her 4 minutes and 23 seconds to make the drive. Let's see if she can do it. Luckily for us, a huge fan already made the drive. We're going to speed it up 4 times to show you exactly what Karen Reed would have been looking at, except it would have been dark and there was some snow on the ground. Let's watch. All right, we're starting at 12:32 and 16 seconds. She hits John. She doesn't stop. She immediately takes off. And this is the path she would have took. Let's speed it up a little bit. In our final calculations, we are going to assume that Karen Reed did not stop or slow down for any stop signs or went right through any red lights if she had any. Let's keep watching. And when we talk about 2.3 miles, it's not a straightaway. Obviously, if you're on a highway, you can do it. This drive requires several stops for which you have to slow down and eventually stop. As I said earlier, we're going to assume that Karen would hit any kids and drive right through a red light just because we want to get the exact time for which she could do this if she was a professional driver driving as fast as potentially possible based upon the geographic location. And again, we're assuming that Karen didn't even slow down for any red lights. And there it is, the finish line. And it's the nail in the coffin to the prosecution's case. There is no way Karen Reed could have hit John O'Keefe with her vehicle and then made it to 1 Meadows Avenue without being a professional driver, driving at over 55 miles an hour, barely slowing down, running through every single red light, and never stopping for any of the stop signs, making it impossible for her to have hit John O'Keefe with her SUV at 12:32 and make it all the way back to John O'Keefe's house at 12:36. Amazing analysis by me, and it's 100% true, and Bob Alessi knew it. At 12:32, John O'Keefe is utilizing his phone. He has the brain capacity to do so, making it impossible for Karen Reed to have struck John O'Keefe with her SUV and make it back to connect to John's router at 12:36. More importantly for us trying to solve this case, we now have John alive at 12:32, and unfortunately for him, the last text message he read was from Hen McCabe. Jen! In the next video, we will pinpoint exactly how, when, and where Brian Patrick Higgins attacked and killed John O'Keefe on that fateful morning. So no matter what, we will never, ever stop producing these videos until the real killer,
Brian Higgins,
is brought to justice.
Tell me about who you discussed this temperature information with.
It was with Hank.
This is truly the masterclass.
You're hesitating and I can't hear you. Who did you discuss
with
it
Hank.
If you want to learn how to do courtroom testimony, you watch Ian Whiffin.
Hank.
Excuse me?
With Mr. Brennan.
Attorney Brennan?
Yes.
Ian was amazing in court. The judge was even smiling at you, Ian, when you were done testifying. I felt like everyone wanted to give you a round of applause.
What is freezing in Fahrenheit?
Don't know.
The way Ian can explain extremely technical details is astounding.
Would you agree that 2 degrees Fahrenheit is the freezing point in Fahrenheit?
This is a good question. I honestly wouldn't know.
The kids think Ian's a doctor because he's so smart.
Uh-oh, it looks like Sir Ian Whiffin failed to properly convert Celsius to Fahrenheit.
So he's Dr. Whiffin, according to our household.
Okay, I didn't get a degree. I'm originally from the UK.